The following program is sponsored by CBN.
Coming up,
people thought we were facing total extinction.
the strike that saved a nation,
The wing commander told us that the fate of the Jewish people was on our shoulders.
the surprise attack that kicked off the Six-Day War.
Those bombers went up in giant flames.
IDF pilots remember Operation Focus,
The mission was more important than anything.
and how it became one of the most successful air campaigns in military history.
For 3 weeks, we learned the most accurate intelligence we could learn.
Today, on the 700 Club. Well, welcome to the 700 Club. The cry for justice continues with protests in America and worldwide over the brutal killing of George Floyd at the hands of 4 police officers. The demonstrations last night were peaceful.
A memorial service for Floyd took place yesterday at a Christian college in Minneapolis. A painful pause of 8 minutes and 46 seconds was held to mark Floyd's final moments. Jennifer Wishon has the story.
In cities across the country last night, more protests. In New York, police peacefully arresting protesters breaking the city's 8 p.m. curfew that's in effect through Sunday. The demonstrations coming after family and friends gathered in Minneapolis to pay tribute to the life of George Floyd. The city's police chief kneeling as Floyd's casket passed by. Floyd's memorial service was held at North Central University, a Christian school located just over a mile from where he died. Amazing grace. Floyd was remembered as a father and brother from humble beginnings who grew up eating banana and mayonnaise sandwiches and loving sports.
All these people came to see my brother, and that's amazing to me that he touched so many people's hearts, because he's been touching our hearts.
Reverend Al Sharpton delivered the eulogy, quickly tearing into President Trump for holding up a Bible in front of St. John's Church.
We cannot use Bibles as a prop. And for those that have agendas that are not about justice, this family will not let you use George as a prop.
The civil rights activist also drew parallels between Floyd's tragic death and what he calls the story of African Americans for more than 400 years.
It's time for us to stand up in George's name and say, get your knee off our necks.
Then a painful pause for 8 minutes and 46 seconds to remember Floyd's final moments.
We want justice for George.
Floyd will be laid to rest in Houston next week. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News.
Well, the nation is mourning, and this is an absolute tragedy. You look at the career of the officer who had his knee on George Floyd's neck, and you have to ask the question, why is he still on the force? Why is this still allowed to happen in America? And I don't have an easy answer for that. You can explain it away with staffing levels. You can explain it away with police union. But at the end of the day, you can't explain it away when someone dies. And we all need to mourn this. This is an absolute tragedy. When someone in police custody is killed, that affects us all, and we have to stand up and say no more. We can't allow this in the United States of America. Our dream as a nation is that there would be freedom, there would be liberty and justice for all. These shouldn't be aspirational words. These should be real words in all of our communities, that we can trust our police, we can trust our justice system. And until we can do that and legitimately say, I trust the police, I trust the justice system, we have to work together to fix it until it becomes right. Now more than ever, Christians need to stand up, and the best thing we can do right now in the middle of this virus, in the middle of all these protests, is pray. We need God right now. We need God for our communities. We need God for liberty. We need God for our freedom. We need God for justice. So let us stand and pray. That's the best thing we can do. So if you want to do that, we have this wonderful thing where you can sign up. You can get email alerts about prayer points. You can get a prayer card, and we'll send you a daily scripture by email. All we're asking is that you commit during this time to pray for America. You can call us, 1-800-700-7000. You can also go to cbn.com/standandpray. Well, George Floyd's brother, Terrence, also honored him yesterday at another memorial service in Brooklyn, bringing a message of peace. John Jessup has that story from our CBN News Bureau in Washington. John?
That's right, Gordon. Terrence Floyd spoke to thousands of people in his New York hometown borough in Brooklyn who had been kneeling together as they waited for him to speak. It was a racially diverse crowd from all backgrounds, remembering George Floyd and calling for change. Terrence began by telling the crowd that he wanted to thank God, that at first he was mad, he was upset, but his brother's death was not God's fault. And he told the protesters to stay peaceful to avoid the violence seen in many cities across the country over the past several days.
I'm proud of the protests, but I'm not proud of the destruction. My brother wasn't about that. The Floyds is a God-fearing family.
Afterwards, thousands of people marched across the Brooklyn Bridge into Manhattan. Well, turning now to the economy, an encouraging report on America's unemployment, as the unemployment rate actually went down, falling 13.3% from 14.7% the month before. Economists had projected that the rate could go as high as 20%. The economy actually added 2.5 million jobs in May as the impact from the coronavirus lockdowns has eased up. Stock market futures shot up on the news, and some analysts believe the economy will recover much more quickly than most economists had expected. Well, we keep hearing reports of progress on a coronavirus vaccine and that one could be ready this year. If you choose to get a vaccine, you may even see a big difference in the form of a radio frequency ID chip. CBN medical reporter Lori Johnson explains why.
People who get a coronavirus vaccine may notice it looks a lot like their eye drops. They might also see an RFID chip on the package. The U.S. government has contracted Abiject Systems of America to make 100 million pre-filled syringes to quickly distribute a coronavirus vaccine. It would use a high-speed blow-fill-seal technology used in pre-filled single-use eye drops.
There are eyedropper facilities in the U.S., not many, but a few, that we are going to upgrade so they can handle vaccines. Then what will happen is those facilities will make the containers right here that will hold the vaccine. We will add a needle hub to them, and voila, you have a pre-filled syringe that's ready to use.
There's also space on each syringe for an optional radio frequency identification chip containing a unique serial number for each dose. It would not be injected or touch the patient. The chip would be scanned by healthcare workers in order to better track overall vaccine information.
It is designed so that there is no counterfeiting. It's designed so that we'll know exactly that the right dose hasn't expired. However, that chip only refers to the dose. There's no personal information, no patient information. It's simply like a barcode, only we know instantaneously where and when that dose has been used. That also helps public health officials know when there are outbreaks, have we vaccinated enough people in those areas?
The pre-filled syringes will add to the limited number of traditionally manufactured vaccine supplies, such as specialized equipment to fill glass jars, stoppers, needles, and syringes.
People are worried about, do we have enough medical glass to be able to put all of these doses of the vaccine into vials so that they can be administered. And that's a serious issue to think about right now, even as we are anticipating, if all goes well, that such vaccines may be available in millions of doses as soon as this fall.
The Department of Defense says once the vaccines are made, they'll be delivered to healthcare providers nationwide with the speed and efficiency of the U.S. military. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Thanks, Lori. 100 million pre-filled syringes. Pretty creative and, Gordon, potentially life-saving technology.
Well, this is really good. Please watch out for what's going on the internet right now, and there's a lot of fake news about this, that somehow the government's trying to chip you. No, that RFID chip doesn't come anywhere near you. It doesn't get injected into you. What it's useful for is to let medical authorities know where the dose was administered and when the dose was administered. And it's also useful to making sure we're not seeing counterfeit vaccines come onto the market. So it's a way to make sure that the dose that you sign up for is the dose that you're actually getting. From a medical authority basis, it lets them know how many people were vaccinated in a geographic area. So if there is an outbreak, they can reliably say, you know, what's the effect of this and what's the potential infection rate. So please watch out what's happening on the internet, calling this, you know, the government trying to chip you or, you know, some, you know, radical conspiracy theory. It's not that. This is a good use of wonderful technology. Terry?
Well, up next, it's called Operation Focus, and it wiped out the enemy's Air Force in a matter of hours. How did Israeli fighter pilots pull it off? Find out next.
Well, today is the anniversary of the Six-Day War. In the days before the war, the Israeli Air Force knew it needed to take out the Egyptian Air Force. They planned an attack called Operation Focus, and it has since been called the most successful air campaign in military history. Take a look.
In May of 1967, Egypt's president, Gamal Abdel Nasser, declared war on the State of Israel, telling his followers, "Our path to Palestine will be covered with blood." Nasser moved his troops into the Sinai Peninsula, expelled the UN peacekeepers there, then blocked the Straits of Tiran to Israeli ships. For Israel, it was time to strike or be struck. And for the next 3 weeks, the Israel Defense Forces were on high alert.
The atmosphere in Israel before the war was very tense. People thought we were facing total extinction. 40,000 coffins were prepared, and no one was sure that the IDF could really handle the Arab armies. 2 weeks after the birth of my son, I had to leave him, without knowing if I would ever see him again.
Armed by the Soviet Union, the Egyptians had the largest and best air force in the Arab world. Israel's only chance of survival was a preemptive strike. And the Air Force had prepared for this moment for more than a decade. Their plan was called Operation Moked, which means focus in Hebrew.
Operation Moked was the brainchild of Ezra Weitzman. He was commander of the Israeli Air Force. He was a pilot himself. He was a pilot in the British Air Force in World War II, flew Spitfires, later the president of Israel. And it was an incredibly daring program.
The plan was for dozens of squadrons to strike 11 airfields throughout Egypt and the Sinai Peninsula.
The main goal was to strike when all the Arab planes were still on the ground, fully exposed. And the idea was to bomb out the runways first to prevent any aircraft from taking off and to keep them from flying for a few days.
In 1966, the plan's creator, Ezra Weitzman, had been promoted to IDF Chief of Operations, and his successor, General Moti Hod, now had the task of executing Weizmann's plan.
Moti was a commander of the Air Force that kept on flying as a fighter. He understood what we felt in the cockpit. So he understood the issues. Brave man, the nicest person in the world. He had nerves from a metal and always thinking forward, ahead, like he did on the time to attack Egypt.
For Israeli civilians, the pre-war tension was high. But for Air Force Squadron Commander Yalo Shavit, Israel's victory was inevitable.
The Israeli Air Force is like a tide spring, ready to somebody to cut the cable that prevents it from. It will be done in no time because we have been trained since the last 11 years. I told my wife, go to Gedera. Gedera is a small village in the south. Find a small toferet, a lady tailor. And you know, what do you want to wear for parties with all the who's and who's, prime minister and down? Have 3 sets. Why 3? I said, because I'm telling you to do 3. There will be parties. He says, you're crazy. I said, listen to me, go and do it. She did it. She was the best woman dressed in the parties.
Israeli intelligence had spent years gathering details about the Egyptian targets. From the location of each plane to the name, rank, and even the voice of each pilot.
I was one of the youngest pilots in the Air Force. I had graduated from pilot training the year before the war. I wasn't even 21 years old yet. I was the intelligence officer of the squadron. For 3 weeks, we learned the most accurate intelligence we could learn. We also prepared the combat doctrine for attacking airports. I was a part of that system.
It was so confident that they know exactly what to do. They trained so many times, they knew it with closed eyes. To receive an aircraft with empty fuel tanks, with empty munition, with empty whatever. And they got to a record of 8 minutes. 8 minutes to prepare the aircraft to be ready to take off.
Monday morning, the 5th of June, they woke us up and we went down to the base. We knew that the big moment had arrived. The commander of the Air Force came in with the wing commander, and they said, "Dear friends, Operation Focus will start today at 7:45 a.m. sharp. This is a fateful operation. Friends of yours will be injured and killed in battle right next to you. It is going to be tough, but we will make it." Then the wing commander told us that the fate of the Jewish people was on our shoulders. We were not afraid for ourselves. The only fear was that we would not be able to perform our duties in the best way possible.
When I took off, I didn't realize it will be such a complicated mission.
Squadron leaders gave their pilots some ground rules, issued by Commander Moti Hod.
There is no communication whatsoever. No radio, no nothing. So we were prepared with all kind of signs and flags, colors of the flags. When you're ready to start the engine, where you have to take off, no radio, 0. You fly at 0 altitude, the lowest you can. If something happened, you do not report back that you crashed or that you jump. The Air Force will find you. You do whatever it takes to reach to the target. We have to destroy the aircrafts on the ground.
We were also told that the mission was more important than anything, and that even in an emergency, even if a friend of ours is about to be killed, we were not allowed to warn him. We had to just let him crash. As cruel as that may sound, this was also that we will not disrupt the operation. If someone is attacked, you have to go on and fight.
Nearly all of Israel's 196 combat planes were committed to the airstrike. Only 12 were left behind to defend the state of Israel. The planes flew low over the Mediterranean to avoid being detected by radar.
We took off and stayed between 35 feet to 50 feet. Impossible below that. We smelled the smell of the salt over the sea.
I was assigned to the foursome that was under Yallow's leadership. I was number 2 in the squadron, and our mission was to attack the En-Sash field near Cairo.
Egypt's radar didn't pick them up, but someone else did. At 8:15 Egyptian time, Jordanian radar screens lit up with an unusual concentration of planes heading over the Mediterranean. And from there, a series of mistakes gave the Israelis an overwhelming advantage. The top general in Jordan radioed the word grape, the prearranged code for war, to Egypt's defense minister in Cairo. But the Egyptians had changed the code word the day before without updating Jordan. So, the Jordanians' messages were tossed aside, and the warning never reached Cairo. But even if the message had been deciphered, there was no one around to read it. Egypt's Air Force commander was at his daughter's wedding. The ground force commander was on vacation. And the defense minister had gone to bed a few hours earlier, leaving orders that he was not to be disturbed. Egypt's chief of staff, Field Marshal Amer, was flying in that morning from an all-night party. So, at the first sign of trouble, the Egyptians shut down their entire air defense system, worried that Amer's plane might be shot down by mistake. Assuming that any Israeli attack would begin at sunrise, the Egyptians had already flown their dawn patrols and returned to base for breakfast.
Moti was the man that planned it, caused the soldiers and officers to be creative. He hit them exactly in the middle of landing, refueling, eating, ready to go here. Boom. We reached the target, but from a distance of 3-4 minutes, I saw that there was a fog. So I started circling, finding a hole in this fog that I see the runway. I dive, I bombed the runway, everything was okay. 2 is okay. 3, I don't hear anything. 4 is okay. Something happened to this excellent officer and pilot that he tried to aim, and meantime, he lost altitude. And when he tried to recover, he hit the runway. But as we were told in the briefing before the takeoff, there is no mercy, there is only one thing: keep on doing the job.
We turned around 360 degrees and performed the second attack. The planes were already burning and there was a lot of smoke. Those bombers went up in giant flames. First I attacked a bomber that seemed to be less damaged. Then the second time I attacked an anti-aircraft battery, and then finally the control tower. The Egyptians fired some anti-aircraft missiles at my plane, but they did not hit me.
In the last second, I saw from the left anti-aircraft position, and before I knew what happened, I got a hit by 3-4 bullets. The front wheel, I saw it disappear. The aircraft stopped. My air brakes went out, and from 500 knots, it went down to 220 in no time. The two other, number 2 and 4, flew forward. I gave them an order: go by yourself to the base. Get as soon as possible to the sea, so nobody will shoot at you. So I found myself, after I was hit, at 3,000 foot, looking forward. And what do I see? MiG-21 in front of me, maybe 500 meters, shooting. my instinct immediately is to shoot at him. He broke to the right, I broke to the left, and then close to Israel, I went up to 7,000 in case I bail out. I came to the area of the base, Benny Pellet, the commander of the base in the control tower. Hello, you have a problem, I understand. Go to the sea next to Ashdod and bail out. He says, no. He says, I'm telling you. He says, I hear you, but I know I'm not going to bail out. I said, don't worry. I will land on 1/3 of the runway toward the fence. So I came there. I hold the aircraft in the lowest speed I can, and I crossed the runway. I touched, full brakes. I saw a lot of pieces of fire from both sides. I crossed the runway. I went to the overrun, a lot of stones and all this, and it stopped. And I went out, and I was standing, and I saw the security and the emergency cars. And they were so excited. Where's the pilot? Because they thought that something happened because of the dust and all this. There was no fire because there was no fuel. I came with 0 fuel. 0 fuel. Nothing in the aircraft, in the tanks. Nothing.
Gradually, the rest of the first wave returned to Israel. In less than 8 minutes, the planes were refueled, rearmed, and ready for a second wave of bombing. In just over half an hour, the Egyptians had lost 204 planes, half of their air force. The Israelis had lost only 19. The kill ratio of Operation Focus had exceeded expectations by almost 100%. At 10:30, General Moti Hod turned to the Army's Chief of Staff, Yitzhak Rabin, and announced, "The Egyptian Air Force has ceased to exist." The Jordanian and Syrian air forces had also been decimated. After less than 5 hours, the Israelis had complete air superiority over the Middle East.
It is truly a Hail Mary operation, but for the Egyptians, it was the ultimate humiliation. And very shortly after the Israeli aerial strike, Israeli ground forces began moving into Sinai. The goals were very limited. The Egyptians had 3 defense lines in Sinai. The goal was to take out the first of the 3 defense lines, not beyond that. But the Egyptian army collapsed so fast and began running away that the other defense lines crashed. And then, as I said earlier, Israeli forces reached the Suez Canal without even intending to reach the Suez Canal. They got sucked into Sinai. So for the Egyptians, this was the ultimate humiliation. It cannot be that the people who just yesterday you had pledged to throw into the sea are now driving you across the Suez Canal.
All day long, the Egyptian propaganda machine ran in overdrive. Radio Cairo falsely reported that Egypt had shot down 85 Israeli planes, while only losing 2 of their own. And Field Marshal Amer told the Jordanians that Israel had lost 75% of its air power, a lie that encouraged Jordan's King Hussein to enter the war.
So you have to develop a big lie. And the lie is that just the opposite has happened. That the Egyptian Air Force has surprised the Israeli Air Force on the ground and destroyed the Israeli Air Force. That the Egyptian army has crossed the border into Israel and is on the outskirts of Tel Aviv. That's the big lie. And this big lie is believed by 200 million Arabs. No one questions, the credibility, no one questions the veracity of these claims. And, there's a certain debate about the degree to which Nasser himself understood or was informed of the direness of the situation. How would you like to be the officer who walked in and said, President Nasser, I got some bad news for you? How would you like to be that person? So maybe people were feeding him strange information. There was one document I saw in Egypt was that the person who reported the Egyptian victory over the Israeli Air Force was a young Air Force captain by the name of Hosni Mubarak.
Operation Focus remains one of the most successful air campaigns in military history. During the Six-Day War, the Israeli Air Force destroyed 452 enemy planes, while losing just 46 of their own. After their stunning performance in Egypt, Yalo Shavit and his crew finished the day in Jerusalem, bombing the Jordanian tanks that raced towards the city and providing air cover for Israeli ground forces.
It was a long day. That night, I came back to the room alone because my roommate got killed that day. It was an exhausting day, both physically and mentally. Not all was taken for granted, even with the feeling of victory we had. No one was free to celebrate.
When I think about it now, after years of experience, I still think that this was a very successful mission.
If one will ask me what was the thing which made it possible so successful, I would answer it in one word: simplicity. I know there is a lot of stories about secret weapons which we used, but we didn't actually. We used the spirit, we used the standard of flying, and we used another thing which maybe doesn't exist in any other air forces in the world, and we call it the no alternative. And when you don't have alternatives, you can achieve such achievements as we did in this war.
They don't know what a group of dedicated people, professionals, trained, willing to invest their soul and everything they have, can do for a country.
Well, that's a lesson for us in America today. We don't know what a group who's willing to invest their soul, everything that we have. And today in America, we need to do that. We need to invest ourselves in our own future. Well, here we are, 53 years later, after the stunning victory of the Six-Day War, and we're still talking about it. We're still debating it. And you look at the proposed annexation of portions of the West Bank that Netanyahu is putting forward that may happen as soon as July. Well, if you want to know the history, if you don't want to know how we got here, look at this wonderful DVD we have. This story that you just saw, Operation Focus, is a DVD extra on the home release of In Our Hands, The Battle for Jerusalem. So if you want to know the history here, the history from the point of view of the people that actually fought the war, get your copy. It's yours for a gift of $15 or more. To get it, all you have to do is call us, 1-800-700-7000, or go to cbn.com/inourhands, and you can own the movie. Again, it's for a gift of $15 or more. Terry?
Well, are you the parent of young children, and is bedtime making you crazy? That's not the problem for this mom of 4 young boys. So what's her secret? Stay tuned to find out. And then later, the mayor who's been in maximum security. See the remarkable turnaround of a former felon. That's later on today's 700 Club.
CBN's latest documentary is called Outbreak. It investigates the origin of the coronavirus and exposes the lies that allowed it to spread. You'll learn answers to questions such as who sounded the alarm at first, why were those alarms ignored, and what can we do now to stop the next pandemic, because the experts are saying another pandemic may be coming our way. Outbreak is available for free, there's no charge, on the CBN Family app and on CBN Films Facebook and YouTube pages. You can also find out more by going to outbreakfilm.com. So do that today. Get informed. How did we get here? How did we get into the state we're in today? What's the origin of this? What did the Chinese government do and not do all at the same time? And how can we protect ourselves against future outbreaks? Again, it's all free, so just go to outbreakfilm.com. Terry?
Jason and Rachel need all the help they can get raising 4 boys, especially at bedtime. And that's why they like Superbook so much. At the end of the day, the whole family winds down with a Superbook episode, chosen by the boy who's the first to shower, put on his pajamas, and brush his teeth.
Jason and Rachel Oyer have 4 boys, so life happens at warp speed. But there's one thing that Samuel, Levi, Benjamin, and Matt will sit still for: Superbook.
They're the ones who are like, we love Superbook. It's awesome.
Bedtime routine can definitely be crazy at times, but one thing that we had been doing for a while is who's ever, brush their teeth and put their pajamas on, taking their shower, the first one down would be able to pick the Superbook episode.
We could just unwind all together from crazy. I want to end the day well with my kids. This is the last thing they're going to think about before they go to sleep.
The boys, ranging in age from 4 to 10, are eager to tell you about their favorite episodes.
I'll tell you a lot about Elijah and the prophets of Baal. All the rest of the prophets were worshiping Baal, but Elijah, he was trying to make everyone worship to God. God made a fiery pit, and they blasted wide open. It was super good. I learned that God loves us so much. It also makes me feel like I want to be a missionary when I grow up because of all the people that don't know God.
Rachel homeschools all of her sons, and Superbook is a vital tool for teaching them life-changing spiritual principles.
It's something that can change their daily life. You want them to be able to stand up to peer pressure and not give in to something is a bad choice for them. When difficult things happen, to be able to push through and not to give up. Superbook brings all those things together.
It's just nice to have somebody on your team with you who wants you to succeed. They want you to raise your children to know Christ.
Well, schools may be closed, but you can still give your children a lesson that will last a lifetime. Join the Superbook Club and watch the stories of the Bible come to life. Members of the Superbook Club can stream all episodes from seasons 1 through 5. And if you join today, we'll send you 3 DVDs of Explorer 25. It's our latest release. It contains 2 great episodes, The Birth of Moses and Philip, plus tons of activities. You can join the Superbook Club for a recurring gift of $25, and you'll be one of the first to receive episodes as they are released. So go to cbn.com or call our toll-free number 1-800-700-7000. Join the Superbook Club. We'll get the latest Explorer out to you right away. Gordon?
Still ahead, from the state pen to City Hall. How did this ex-con become the mayor of his hometown?
Welcome back to Washington for the CBN News Break. Old world masterpiece paintings have sold for millions of dollars, but one Dutch museum has just received quite a generous donation, all due to the global coronavirus outbreak. When the economic downturn stopped the sale of the masterpiece Body of Christ Supported by Angels, its owner decided to take a financial loss and, instead of selling, donated the painting. They gifted it to the Amsterdam's Rijksmuseum in memory of COVID-19 patients. Well, CBN's Operation Blessing is helping fight the coronavirus internationally. For families living in countries like Peru, staying at home all the time is nearly impossible. Their homes often lack refrigerators, so families have to go to the market because food spoils quickly. And the daily income for many only is enough to support eating that same day. Thanks to support from its partners, Operation Blessing has engineered hand-washing stations that have been installed in busy areas like the marketplace. Now grateful customers and shopkeepers have a place to wash their hands, and that has inspired public confidence, replacing fear. Well, you can find out more about Operation Blessing by visiting ob.org. Gordon and Terry will be back with more today's 700 Club right after this.
Jermaine Wilson grew up on the mean streets of Leavenworth, Kansas. He saw drug deals go down, and he started selling drugs on his own. Well, years later, Jermaine's job was to clean up those streets after he became the mayor of his hometown.
Just exposed to drugs, exposed to the violence, and just seeing this every single day.
Jermaine Wilson knew all too well the lifestyle of drug dealers. Growing up in the streets of a poor Leavenworth, Kansas neighborhood with little hope of a future, he even dreamed of becoming one.
We would see these drug dealers, they're pulling out wads of money. It's exciting, it looked thrilling. And I said, man, I want what he got.
To Jermaine, that also meant having the respect of others, something he never had.
People always make fun of me, and I ended up getting the name too short, too fat, too ugly, and I always wanted to fit in.
But there was one person who made Jermaine feel safe and accepted.
My brother he was my protector. He was my role model, and I felt like he could not do any wrong in my life, and I wanted to be just like him.
Which not only meant hanging out with his brother and his friends, but also doing drugs and committing small crimes.
Because my brother was constantly doing it, everybody else was doing it, I didn't want to be like the outcast and not do it.
Eventually, his brother wound up in juvenile detention for theft. But 12-year-old Jermaine continued on, spending the next 3 years doing drugs, getting into fights, and stealing. Then at 15, he also landed in juvenile detention. What started as a 2-year sentence turned into 4 after the angry teenager tried to escape.
I felt like the system had played me, and I truly felt like that I was going to have to make up for lost time. I learned more about drugs being incarcerated than I've ever had. And I told myself, I said, you know what? When I get out here, I know how to make money, and I'm gonna make it quickly, and everybody's gonna know exactly who I am.
Once released and back home, Jermaine set his plan in motion. Using the skills and connections he made in prison, he quickly became one of the leading drug dealers in his area.
I seen how quickly the money came, and I seen, how the customers would come back, and just the level of respect that they showed me. And yes, it did give me a sense of power.
But there were some things that came with money and status he didn't count on.
Over a period of time, paranoia really was setting in on me. So I started, heavily using ecstasy pills to help me cope with what I was going through. Worried, not knowing if I was going to get robbed, not knowing if I was going to get busted by the cops.
Those feelings only got worse after his longtime girlfriend gave birth to his son, Jermaine Jr.
And I felt like it was just a matter of time before I end up getting caught and losing everything. I was just trying to drown out this feeling. I would just talk to myself. I said, man, I need something different. Like, this is killing me.
In 2008, only 2 years after being released, he was back in prison, arrested for drug possession. Jermaine realized the status and power he thought he enjoyed had been a lie.
I knew deep down inside of my heart that, people didn't care about me. They cared about the material things that I had. I felt like these were the things that defined who I was. But once I lost all of those things, I was broken.
9 months into his sentence, Jermaine was considering taking his own life when he remembered a time in his childhood.
And I remember, my mom used to make us go to church, and we were sitting in Sunday school. And I always used to hear about a man named Jesus, how he forgives, how he gives second chances, how he restores and gives hope. And these stories started coming to my mind as I'm sitting on my prison floor, crying, bawling out, not knowing what's going to happen for me. I want something different. I need help. And I said, God, like, if you truly are real, please forgive me of my sins. Give me another chance for me to be with my family. Help me to become me. Help me to become fulfilled, because I don't want to continue to live this lifestyle anymore. And when I cried out to God, that's when, first time in my life, I felt free. That's when I started feeling peace. And I just felt the love and the compassion that came from Jesus just being inside of my heart. And that's when I knew that, life was going to be different for me.
Since his release in 2010, Jermaine has been ministering to inmates and people in his community as an ordained pastor. Now married to his girlfriend Jessica, this one-time drug dealer and convict has risen to new heights as the mayor of Leavenworth, Kansas.
So as I was going through my journey, searching throughout life, I was looking for happiness and joy and peace, through all these material things. The fulfillment that I needed, Christ gave to me. The acceptance that I needed, Christ gave to me. The joy, the hope, the peace, and most of all, the forgiveness Christ gave to me. And that's why I'm here today.
And he will give it to you. You listen to Jermaine's prayer, help me to become me. What an incredible prayer, because that's the transformation that God offers you. He offers you to become what he originally intended. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. You are made in the image of God. We're not talking about you becoming some kind of different thing. We're talking about you becoming you, what you were made to be. The good works that God has for you, the good things that he has for you to do. Maybe it's not to be mayor of Leavenworth, but for you, it'll be something even better because it was made uniquely by an all-wise God for you. Things that will give you hope, things that will give you a purpose, things that will show you God's plan, things that will satisfy the desires of your heart. The world wants to give you a different story. And it's the same story that Jermaine had in his head for a while. And that story is somehow the system has played you, or that things are stacked against you, or there's no way out, there's no hope, there's no future for you. Those are the things the world is trying to impress upon you. But in God's kingdom, none of that is true. What is true is that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. What is true is that you're a child of God. What is true is that he wants you to be part of his royal priesthood. What is true is he wants to take you from an ash heap and put a crown on your head. That's God's truth. That's what he wants for you. So don't believe the lie. Don't follow after the lie. Don't follow just as Jermaine followed us. I'm going to get good at doing bad things. When you turn around and you turn to him and say, God, I want everything that you have for me. I want to fulfill all my purpose, all that you laid out. I want every piece of it. I don't want to miss out on anything. Any good thing that you have for me, I want that. I want all in with you. When you pray that with all of your heart, and that's what Jermaine did, he prayed it with all of his heart. God, if you're real, could you forgive me? Could you change me? Could you turn my life around? I want to be all in with you. When you pray that with all of your heart, he'll answer. So right now, let's do that. You and me. All you have to do is bow your head. Let's say that same prayer that Jermaine prayed. And God will do the same thing for you. He's no respecter of persons. Why? Because everyone is made in his image. Everyone is his child. He wants everyone to have this. So pray with me and realize God will come to you right now. Let's pray. Jesus. That's right. Say his name. Say it out loud. Jesus. If you're real, could you forgive me? Could you come into my heart? Could you make me new again? Could you restore to me what you originally intended for me? I'm sorry for the things that I've done wrong. I turn from them now, and I turn to you. Hear my prayer, for I pray it in Jesus' name. Amen. If you prayed with me, there's one more thing I want you to do. I want you to let somebody know. We made that easy. It's toll-free number, 1-800-700-7000. And when you call, I've got something for you. It's called A New Day. There's a CD teaching, What Do You Do Now? Booklet filled with Bible verses. I encourage you to get a copy of the Bible. Start reading it every day. Here's a word from Proverbs. Every word of God proves true. He is a shield to all who come to him for protection.